Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here. We got a lot to talk about today. Bitcoin is going through its first major corrective movement after the breakout above $112,000. Today, we're going to be talking about exactly that. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and jump onto the chart. Bitcoin, over the last 24 hours, has broken well above 112,000 in one of the most beautiful breakouts that I have ever seen. We went through a number of different stair steps up as you had different traders taking profits. We ended up having about 4 stair steps in total, all the way to the upside. And that led Bitcoin up to a recent local high of about $119,000, which, funnily enough, is the exact price target that we gave for our all of August trading. We predicted that Bitcoin would go to $120,000, $119,000 to $120,000 in August of 2025. This tweet went out approximately 28 hours before this video is going live. And everything that we predicted in this tweet that went out yesterday has already happened. Now, the updated analysis, what we really need to be looking at now, is taking place down on the 15-minute chart all the way to the hourly chart. If we look at the 15-minute chart, at the time of recording this, we are watching Bitcoin try and come down here and backtest 116.5 to about 117. This is a very important test because we are actually testing a previous all-time high where we rallied up to 117 back around about 5 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. We are also on the 1 hourly chart backtesting down to the 20-hourly exponential moving average at the time of recording this video. I'm not totally confident that we're going to be able to hold this uptrending moving average. And the reason for that is because Bitcoin is massively overextended. On the hourly chart, we have bearish RSI divergence, which is pointing to the downside. We also see that RSI is sitting on top of this uptrending level of support. And if we don't manage to continue this parabolic rally, then we're most likely going to see a capitulation here. What is becoming apparent to me is that a corrective movement, just like we talked about in this tweet, is likely to occur. Now, we predicted that Bitcoin was going to flag out at 115 and then drop back down to 112. Bitcoin got a little bit more aggressive than what we predicted, rallied to 119. Now it looks like it might drop back down to 112, maybe to 114. So let's take a look at some of those levels of support. The first one that jumps out to me here on Bitcoin is the level of support that is the neckline of this massive inverse head and shoulders pattern that we've been talking about literally all year. This pattern has defined our conversation here on YouTube about Bitcoin all year, and we are currently above the neckline. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stay above the neckline. We may need to test it. There's a possibility that after Bitcoin rallied from $98,000, 20%, all the way up to 119, that Bitcoin, as you might expect, needs to have a bit of a corrective movement. It is not unreasonable to assume, therefore, that Bitcoin might need to drop back down to 113 before it can continue rallying. That all is going to be determined by whether or not we hold the 1 hourly chart, exponential moving average, and if we break that, then we need to at least hold the 2 hourly or the 4 hourly exponential moving average. The 4 hourly exponential moving average, 20 EMA, has support right around this uptrending level of support that was the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders pattern. We believe that Bitcoin is going to have a very, very, very powerful bull market. And so my prediction right now at about 1:04 p.m. Eastern time is that Bitcoin is going to fall back down and find support on one of these 3 levels. Bull case, we find support where we are right now at 117, bounce, and continue the uptrend. Because by the way, newsflash, I don't think 119 is the end of this. I think we're going to 125 very soon. I think we're going to find support bull case right here, as we are currently doing on the 1 hourly chart, on the 1 hourly 20 exponential moving average. Bear case, we find support down here on this uptrending level of support based on the 20 exponential moving average on the 4 hourly chart and on the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders pattern. Base case, we find support smack dab in the middle here around $115,000, which is where we currently see the 2 hourly 20 exponential moving average residing. A couple of other ways that we could calculate possible levels of support would be by showing a Fibonacci off of a couple of different points. The first place we could pull a Fibonacci is off of our drop all the way down to $98,000. If we were to see Bitcoin pull back to the 0.238 level, that would be $114,000, which would slot right in there nicely with our bear case that we have a back test to 114 before bouncing. If we drop to 114, I will likely be buying, and a lot of other people will be too, because Bitcoin is not done. I don't want to come across as a super bear right now. I just think that Bitcoin's going to take a middle cycle corrective movement, and then we're going to keep moving on here. That being said, There are other ways that you can draw Fibonacci, and it becomes very useful if you draw Fibonacci based on just this breakout rather than the overall market structure. If you look at this symmetrical triangle pattern, then you'll see that the breakout started roughly here, which would give a 0.382 corrective movement. A lot of credence at 114.5. So these are different levels that you could see Bitcoin fall back down to. Either 0.236 on this Fibonacci retracement, which would give us a bounce basically where we are right now, or a drop as low as 114. I don't see a drop below 114 in the cards anytime soon. Bitcoin has shown an exorbitant amount of bullishness, and even on the short-term time frames, it is trying right now as we speak to bounce off of this moving average. So I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. All right. Pivoting a little bit from the short-term technical analysis and the trading down there, which I think is looking for a corrective movement. So be careful if you're in a long. You might get liquidated in the next day or two if you're not careful. But looking at the longer-term movement, I want to draw your attention to this chart. This is a beautiful chart. It is a sight to behold. We talked about it on Coffee and Crypto this morning. If you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend you do so. And it's based off of two uptrending levels. A level of resistance and a level of support. On the log chart, as you can see over here, I'm sorry, not the log chart, the regular chart, as you can see over here, Bitcoin has been respecting this uptrending level of resistance perfectly. We have 3 touches here, not just 2 touches, but a third touch. This was actually the high that we rallied to back in January. Absolutely beautiful. We have 3 touches, which means it's very powerful, not just 2 touches. If we were to see Bitcoin continue the pattern of kind of ping-ponging around between these 2 levels, our uptrending level of resistance and our uptrending level of support, which I'll show you in just a second, then that would mean that we are in the middle of the rally from the uptrending level of support, which gave us support right down here around 75,000. I'm going to show you how beautiful this looks in just a minute. It's just, this is the theory that we're going to be using to kind of just determine where Bitcoin is going probably for the rest of the year. So get used to seeing this chart. You're going to be seeing it a lot. Based on this chart, it would tell us that Bitcoin is more or less in the middle of its movement here, which means that we're basically, what we were doing over the last couple of months was painting a giant bull flag. That bull flag would give us a price target and a breakout right up here, guess where? To that uptrending level of resistance. That uptrending level of resistance sits currently at about $140,000. Now, it gets even cooler, because if you draw a Fibonacci retracement off of 109,000, our previous all-time high, on the regular chart, you get the 1.618 Fibonacci extension at 130, which is right in alignment with that price target, and it's also right in alignment with Bitcoin going to this uptrending level of resistance. That's basically what Bitcoin did last cycle. We had Bitcoin go on a major run here, broke well above 1.618, except it actually used 1.618 as support architecture for a while. So diminishing returns are slowing Bitcoin down a little bit, but this chart would be telling me that Bitcoin is looking at between $130,000 to $150,000 as its top for this overall cycle, based on the extrapolation of the bull flag, based on the inverse head and shoulders pattern, which, by the way, gives us a price target of, you guessed it, $150,000. Say we take 2 to 3 months to get there. We get there in the next couple of months, and we end up testing this level of resistance and rejecting there. And from there, you get a very healthy correction. Guess what happens? If you rally to $140,000 to $150,000 over the course of the rest of this year, you end up getting a correction right back down to all-time high at 112. You end up getting a drop back down to 100 to 110, which is an excellent place to load your bags, because at that point, the all-time high is 140. You're 25% down. You're buying 100K Bitcoin like there's no tomorrow. You don't see a sub $100,000 Bitcoin. You continue the stair-step pattern that everybody's been talking about, and you end up following the exact same pattern that we just followed. Bitcoin back-tested down to its previous all-time high. If you'll notice, the bottom of the last corrective movement was the top of the last rally. If we see Bitcoin do the exact same thing, we rally up here and we drop back down, we would drop right back down to 109, the top of this movement, which would just make everything so beautiful. And it would also mean that Bitcoin's not going parabolic, which leads me to my third and final point, which is that this chart and what we're seeing on the breakout right now falls very closely in alignment with another theory we've been talking about a lot here on the channel, and that is that Bitcoin might be breaking the 4-year halving cycle. We don't know that yet. Bitcoin still needs to get past this year, because the 4-year halving cycle would dictate that Bitcoin's bull market should be done in approximately mid-November of this year. But if we start getting to January, February, and Bitcoin's still not going into a bear market, it's still making fresh all-time highs, it's possible that the ETF narrative and the mass adoption narrative and the M2 money narrative trumps the 4-year halving cycle. And what I want to draw your attention to is this. When gold had its ETF launch, we saw gold rally in a basically vertical channel just like this for about a decade. And we even ended up going parabolic and breaking bullish out of that uptrend, right? That happened over the course of 7 years. For 2,500 days, gold rallied 330%. Gold was a far more established market. I think we can agree that gold was significantly older than Bitcoin was when gold got its ETF. And in the first year, gold's ETF, the GLD ETF, the SPDR spot gold ETF, had $1.5 billion of net inflows. The Bitcoin ETFs, because there were like 12 of them that launched on the same day, they had $38 billion of inflows in the first year. I'll go ahead and show you that. $38 billion of inflows in the first year. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to spend the time pulling up the chart right now, but I'll tell you, the gold ETF had about $1 billion, to $1 to $2 billion of inflows in the first 12 months. The Bitcoin ETFs cumulatively had 37 to 38 billion. So Bitcoin's market is a 20th as mature as gold when you have the ETF launch, and we also have 20 times more inflows. What does that mean? That means that Bitcoin will almost certainly at least 350% increase over the first 7 years, and that gives us a lot of information about where we're going. If you see a 350% increase on Bitcoin over the 7 years following the ETF's launch, you're sitting there riding the bottom of this uptrend. But of course, Bitcoin's ETFs is far more successful. Bitcoin is a much bigger consumer narrative than gold. People are not really buying gold. They're buying Bitcoin. Gold's doing great, but Bitcoin has a lot more interest. So you end up seeing higher than that. My point here is based on what Bitcoin is doing following the launch of the ETFs, it's very possible that we just have this stairway to heaven and Bitcoin just rallies and rallies and rallies and potentially even breaks bullish above this uptrending level of resistance and goes to 500, 600K by the end of the decade. It's possible that these two lines are going to be some of the most talked about uptrends that Bitcoin experiences for the rest of the 2020s. And if that's the case, then that's very exciting because that means that we're about to go to $150,000 with a drop back down to 100 to 110, where it will be a great place to load up your bags for the next leg of the rally, which could be the end of this rally. We'll see. It could be bear market after that, where we would rally up to 200K by the end of next year. In other words, by the end of next year, we could be looking at least $200,000 per Bitcoin. Within the next couple of months, we are looking at $130,000 to $150,000 per Bitcoin. Over the next couple of days, over the course of this weekend, we need to see whether or not Bitcoin is going to hold the 20 moving average on the hourly, 2-hourly chart, or 4-hourly chart. And from there, we can start making some more investment and trading decisions. Truth be told, I buy Bitcoin whenever I get cash. If I have cash, dump it into Bitcoin because I believe in the long-term future of Bitcoin. But I also believe in trading, and that's why I want to encourage you guys to check out our trading group. I'm very excited about the fact that we have launched something called the First Cohort Trading Group. Now, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. The First Cohort, there's a lot of really cool lore behind that name that I'll go into in other content. But right now, I just want to let you know that if you sign up for our exchange partner, which is 2Bit, with the link in the description box down below, not only will you get $50 when you register, not only will you double that to $100 when you trade your first $1,000 on perps, not only will you get $30 in rewards just for depositing $100, but if you deposit $100 into 2Bit using our link, I will also give you a coupon code that will give you access to our trading group, the First Cohort Trading Group, for 1 year for free. That is a $419 value free just because you sign up for 2Bit and you give me your word that that's where you're going to do your trading. If you sign up for 2Bit, 2Bit's kind of sponsoring the trading group, right? So if you sign up for 2Bit, the trading fees offset what you would spend on the Discord server, but you don't see it because, you know, you're trading and making money. So if you want to get into our Discord server, make sure to sign up for 2Bit with the link in the description box down below. It's right down there. Deposit $100 and get trading. And then what you can do is you can get in contact with us and we will get you into our very own Discord server. Next week, I should have a place to send all you guys. Say, hey, go here and you'll get in, and it's going to be really good. So come sign up for 2Bit. Sign up for the first cohort trading group. You can do it with cash if you want. It's $49 a month. Use JEB20. That's our coupon code right now to get 20% off. So about $39 off the first month. And also, don't forget about the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. Right now, you can get into CT2A and start learning everything that you need to know about trading for about $480. You can sign up for CT2A using coupon code JEB20. It's already applied in the link with the link in the description box down below. Get into CT2A. Join our over 5,000 students who have been learning how to do technical analysis on cryptocurrency markets for the better part of a decade now, and learn how to do the technical analysis that we use every single day in our trading. Go ahead and dive right on in, get started learning about all the patterns, all these different concepts that I'm thinking about, like how do I figure out how strong the bulls are? How do I figure out if the bulls are stronger than the bears? How do I figure out if this support is going to break and that support's going to break? How do I figure out where the market's going to go so I know where to take my stop loss? How do I know whether it's a good time to enter the market right now or not? CT2A is going to go over all of that, so make sure to sign up with the link in the description box down below. I appreciate all of you guys for being here. I love you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.